This day 751, the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. So I expect to come share more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. Pays me directly, very greatly appreciated. I think I goofed in yesterday's year, which I apologize. It was supposed to be Aleph to Zion. I thought I saw a test, but it was supposed to be Aleph to Zion. So I went yesterday all the way up to Test, Advad Bechlau. So today is supposed to be Ches till Tes Vav. And we already did Ches and Tes yesterday. So we will do today Yud to Tes Vav. Yud. V'dat Tuf Samach Beis. Yud to Tes Vav. V'dat Yishno the Kimshis by the Mei Peres and Maim Habi Chometz Nuksha. Since we understood, we clarified that fruit juice with water makes this arrested chometz. The same Tav Nam Zayin is by chometz nuksha bata b'shishim, and we clarified earlier that arrested chometz is bata on 60. Lochein yesh mishor tzalamar. Therefore, those who want to say the nitzo garin shel tvua b'pesach b'chremzo. You find a kernel of grain, chremzo, which is a type of sweet pastry. A good grain knedlach. What it is. Shalosh mishuman mei beitzim, which are made with oil and with eggs. The chremzel nolosh gam in the vash. The chremzel also has honey in it. Then let's have a mashu. You know, the aser b'mashu shays there mei peros in mine, because this is the fruit juice with water. Go bata b'shishim, and it's bata on 60. And this is somebody quoted in the Yehuda. Yesh mishvat zolitchos said those who want to reject this. It's in the Shas and Menachos you can't say both. If you want to say the nuksha d'Rabbanan, then mei peros with water is chametz, is absolute chametz. We have a nuksha, if it's nuksha bakor, the nuksha the rice, and then nuksha is the rice, and that is Noda B'Yehuda himself. The Mishnah Berurah says, if it's no water, just oil and eggs, it's partial that it's mutter because it's mei peros and they don't make a chametz. But if there is in the knedlach water, even a little bit, it's mei peros with water and it's also, which is what Noda B'Yehuda just said. But Arukh HaShulchan rejects it. He says, "V'nit chudvarav." Shayrosh v'atur pasuk v'sim tav men beis the nuksha v'drabanan. The pasuk say nuksha is only drabanan, no matter how you slice it. The simazeh pasuk mei peros and ma'am having nuksha, and the pasuk water with fruit juice is nuksha. So therefore, it remains drabanan, and not be also b'mashu. But if you nuksha the rice, even nuksha with the rice, the ganke bata b'shishim, it still should be notified. 60 came shebel kaves. Mochametz pesach. It doesn't have. It's not the type of chametz which you are liable to the death penalty. Actually, not death penalty. It's kaves. And therefore, you would not have. Therefore, should be bata b'shishim. The chametz pesach, which is not subject to the death penalty, and is therefore bata b'shishim. If it's just a little bit of oil, that's not considered like mei peros in mine, like fruit juice with water. It's just shuman mei beitzim davar shel mamish, but where there's egg and there's oil and egg, a significant amount. Koshkem b'chremzel, especially in the chremzel sheish bo gam dvash, shows it's not yesh lokal b'efsin merubah. If it's a case of efsin merubah, great loss. V'nias simas yondav and krotzem and simas yondav b'mashu the rabbanon. He says, naturally means by mashu d'Rabbanan. I guess it means something d'Rabbanan because he wants to say it's bata b'shishim, not b'mashu. Anyways, less also ego chremzel. You ask that specific knedel or chremzel v'lo say not more. V'koshkem yesh od eitz tzadakula, especially some other reason we make. Chemnitz garim b'lefes. You find a kernel in a side dish, shikorin tzimis, made of carrots. Yeshim shumul vash karoi, if there is oil and honey is appropriate. V'zeyesh mayim, there's a little bit of water there. Kayadua d'arbei lachluchas yotzin levis atzel, because we know that a lot of liquid comes out of the dish itself. Zel mei peros, carrot secretion. Then lachmir b'zeh, you don't have to be machmir in this. It's certainly true. You find other kernels of grain in the honey or the fat. And the honey was boiled before Pesach. And the fat was fried before Pesach. We say that that kernel came from the honey or from the oil. Because battle couldn't Pesach, and Pesach when notified for Pesach in the fruit juice. Afterwards, not going to come chametz. The lekach or tort, which is a cookie or a cake, which is made with honey or sugar without water. But you didn't make sure not to knead it on a chametz board. Pesach, and so before Pesach, you shouldn't eat on Pesach. You can leave it after Pesach and eat it then. Yud Beis Kasar Beis says Siv Vav. Chito Shanim says B'dvash Obiyayim V'chometz Mutar Mashal Yisar Be'em Mayim. If you find a kernel of grain in honey or wine or vinegar, it's mutar as long as there was no water mixed in as well. So you can go mutar lush b'yayin. So let's say you're allowed to knead a dough on Pesach with wine. Even though it's not possible to avoid having drops of water, which fall at the time of the harvest. Need soak, and even he deliberately put water on the grapes in order, I guess, to make them flow, to open up the flow. Nevertheless, it's not a problem because already the water is butter in the wine before you kneaded the dough. They asked, so that's case why it required that no water got mixed in. The water is butter. Since the wine is bubbly, it's like it's cooked. So the wine chemically fused with the water, and therefore it's like wine. Vav, where there's no fusion, so therefore the water remains distinct. The water could get in, but not when the kernel of wheat is still inside the honey. That'd be like game except at the time of kneading. It's awesome. It was mixed before you started kneading the dough. Those say that that's the son-in-law of the Magen Avram. Those who answer. The little bit of water doesn't cause chametz. I will come chametz to a shimur. You still have to watch it. Without watching it, it's going to come chametz. It wasn't watched, we're afraid. Here's like near Pasha. Oshun says, I'm El Mahal. The Besif Gimel Mayim Ayu B'Shasa Batzir Kodem Pesach was Pato. So the water was there before Pesach, time of the harvesting. It's already Bato. Shem Sibav have it Pesach. Sibav it's about where it's already Pesach. So therefore it's not Bato. He says brackets can Muchal Lekar Helia Batasi Mataf Sam. Okay, it says he has rice for this. Yukimel Besif Tes Biarnu. Besif Tes we explained. To me'at may peiros im harbe mayim, a little bit of fruit juice, a lot of water. Learner shaka may peiros im mayim. It's not considered to be like fruit juice with water. It's just like only water by itself. Kasami wrote the hu adin lehefek. The opposite is true as well. Avalokin kasu and farshim. And the farshim do not write this. The few mat mayim harbe may peiros. They write even as a small amount of water with a lot of fruit juice having a peiros in mayim. It's like just even Stephen fruit juice and water. The tzarich lefos miyan. You have to make it immediately because it's going to come chametz much more quickly. If he's a tzorich habezihu, so in that case, you need very, very meticulous care. Matzah shalashim may base when you make egg matzah. Shagan shakrin back in the bowl. Lo yebo shum achluz man should not have any drops of water. Okay, but since on the other hand you must wash it out between each dough, you have to take care it's absolutely dry when you put in the next batch. Yudah kasok dalim shem tash baits. The yain tzimukim advat tzimukim shnasim adei mayim, raisin wine or raisin honey, which is made with water. Change time again, but then taste change altogether. Have become made pairs great. It's just like fruit juice. The topic may made vashkoin med. The people are unsure What about the honey water, which is called med? In Sabagarin, if you find a kernel of grain there, in Bikre made payros, Kemuchistana de Bishul. Is it called made payros because already it was changed by being cooked together? Or not? So the Mishnah Berurah says here, you should be machmir not to drink the mead or the honey water. Mead is honey water. Not to drink the raisin wine or the honey water, but you can lean after Pesach and sell them or sell them to a non-Jew. That's what Arukh HaShulchan says. The issue because of the yain tzimukim havik mei peros imayim denim elok yain mazuk. As I say, that raisin wine is just like wine and water because it's just mixing them together, which is called diluted wine, and which is diluted, of course, and therefore doesn't lose the same water. Mishnah Berurah says, therefore, every Baal Nefesh should be machmir not to eat matzah which was kneaded with this, only to sell it or to leave it after Pesach. However, says Arukh HaShulchan, if you find a kernel of grain in hot schmaltz, the hot goose fat, you can it's simple to imate this, even though it was rinsed in water, as long as the water already dried. The Mishnah Berurah says if you find a kernel of grain which is already puffy, right, it's a split in a kli rishon, in which you rendered fat for Pesach, and it's still there, then that fat is awesome. So it says if a person says with clarity that we didn't say this. We didn't see that yet. So he says if you find it the kernel of grain inside the hot goose fat, even though it was rinsed in water, akvar and as long as the water was really dry, and that was no longer with it. So he did do that. Mishnah says if he knows with clarity that he waited until it was fully dry, then even if the kernel of grain is found before the fat is rendered properly, it's all mutter. Okay. So if it's found in a congealed fat, after is water there, mutter fish find because it became congealed before Pesach. There's nothing. We don't use anything which is you don't actually do the kvisha, the congealing on Pesach. Why not? After Shuman Rach, when the fat is soft, Yesh Lachush should be suspect that maybe it happened on Pesach. Uvadim, I'm saying Isser Malcolm is man Lizman, is by B'Siyad Lishman Siman Tov sounds like. But extend Isser from one place to another, one time to another, that's not for now, he says. Tesvav, because Rabbi Nabis Yosef. Sib Zayin, Yesh Bar Melech on Pesach, you have to check the salt before Pesach, Mechitim, so there shouldn't be any grain inside. Shamel Misach Lechas, when salt gets moist, Nechas Map Mechitim, Chametz, gets into the kernels and causes any chametz. Agal Shomar, end quote from Pesach. Kol Pesach have a action Misach Lech Vanis Bata. Before Pesach, even if it gets moist a little bit, that's fine. It's already bata before Pesach. So in the Brahmi he says Shatzion says the Magen Avram and Yaakov seem to say it has to be bata b'shishim. Chayam says the same thing. According to this, you wouldn't have to toss out even Kedei Natila. By the time it writes before Pesach, you have to be careful to actually throw out the Kedei Natila. Okay? This doesn't seem the case according to Arukh HaShulchan. Mashing with Pesach, says Arukh HaShulchan, to have a mashi. If you have it, im nimmt also mashi, says also, of course. You have an imsa garden to the Pesach, but you find a kernel of salt, grain in salt on Pesach. You should remove amount of salt with the tila, which is sliced with etzba. A shy to pay the Pesach, and the rest you can leave around until after Pesach. Mishnah Berurah says the Achronim agree if it's completely dry, you can even use the salt on Pesach. You don't have to wait till after Pesach. So if they put salt from this mixture into a pot on Pesach, you don't have to aser. One second. Shmuel says you put a container teal from substance which is affected, then you have to take into account. All right, that's obscure. Sounds like salt which is mined from the salt mines says not a problem. Mr. says, nevertheless, you check it. But the Torah says it's not a problem because the main melech having made peros ayin sham. He writes that the liquid of salt is made peros. Zel melech karka. Say about the salt of the earth, because the near the dam of the mine, the salt of the water seems to be very similar to water.